If you love me, please don't judge me. Got my hands tied, the power's above me. Don't shoot the messenger, I'm just a puppet here. If you wanna place blame, then look to the puppeteer. Family, fortune, envy, jealousy, privilege, passed on, legacy, secret, sabotage, borderline, felony, suicide, subtract, selfish, pedigree, yeah.
How's it going, everybody? It's C-RadTV back here in another video. So, of course, it's time to continue to What If NASCAR Had the F1 Points Format series. So, in the last time in this series, we took a look at the ARCA East, ARCA West, Pennies, Modifieds, Euro, and the Mexico series in the 2020 season. And learned that quite a couple things would have changed under the F1 Points format in 2020. Despite the Black Plague pandemic turning everything into a complete shit mess. And in this part, we're going to take a look at the entire 2021 season under the F1 points to see what would have changed or what would have stayed the same if they used the F1 points format. So, of course, for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the Euro Series, the Mexico Series, the Modified Series, the Penny Series, the ARCA West, the ARCA East, ARCA Series, the Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup Series all in this part. So, pretty much every NASCAR sanctioned series we have right now, except the weekly series. We're not going to do that one because the weekly series is a complete massive clusterfuck that I don't want to touch. So, yeah, there's my stand with that. And quite a couple of things would have changed in 2021 under the F1 points format. The changes that would have happened, we'll get to them when we get there. But yeah, before we start this off, let me first mention that please check out the NASCAR at F1 Points Twitter and Instagram pages for exclusive NASCAR at F1 Points content. I always post content there daily, so if you want to check those out, the link's in the description down below. So yeah, anyway, before we continue on, now on the screen is the points format we're going to be using for this part, which is the current F1 points format, just no fastest lap bonus point, because it is kind of gimmicky and I don't want gimmicks in this. And for this one, we're also not doing the sprint format because I didn't know about the sprint format until like midway through the F1 season. So, and the sprint format, it is kind of gimmicky too, and I know a lot of fans aren't really the biggest fan of it in the world right now. So, we're not going to do gimmicks in this because, like I said, when I started this series, we're doing no gimmicks, just the normal points format, and that's it. No gimmicks. And before we start this off, let me once again stress out that this is just a hypothetical scenario. I know everyone would have raced differently had they used the F1 points format. This is just for fun. So now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and let's jump right into the 2021 season. So starting off first with the Euro Series, we would end up having 5 drivers separate themselves from the rest of the field in this season. And those 5 being Loris Hezemans, Vittorio Garelli, Juan Marco Iracoli, Nicole Rocca, and Alon Day, as those 5 were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. In the end, though, Nicole Rocca, Juan Marco Iracoli, and Alon Day would all fail to be consistent in key moments of the year when it mattered the most, and they'd be eliminated with around a race or 2 to go in the season, respectively. So in the end, the season would go all the way down to the title fight would go all the way down to the season finale at Fallelujah, with Loris Hezemans entering with a 12-point lead over Vittorio Garelli. So for Garelli to win the title, he would have to finish at least top 4 to win the championship, to have a shot at the championship, and would need Hezemans to finish deep in the running order. For Hezemans to win the title, Hezemans just had to finish anywhere between 4th to 10th or better, regardless of where Garelli finishes. Depending on where he finished, though. But he also locked it up if Garelli finished 5th or worse. So in the season finale at Fallelujah, Hezemans ran top 5 most of the race. While Vittorio Garelli, he would end up crashing out of the race out on lap 4. And once he crashed out, it meant that Loris Hezemans would end up winning the championship by default. But Hezemans would end up going on to finish 5th in the season finale just to make good measure. And that 5th place finish, well, it would be more than enough for Hezemans to lock up the championship over Vittorio Garelli by only 22 points. So Hesmans would still be the champion under this format, and this would be his second title under this format. And of course, this is of course before Hesmans jumps ship to the Cup Series next year. So now on to the Mexico Series. The Mexico Series would put a full 12-race season in. And in the Mexico Series, we would end up having a two-man battle for the championship between Salvador de Alba Jr. and Ruben Garcia Jr., as those two were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. It was dead even between the two. And in the end, the championship fight would go all the way down to the season finale at Puebla, with Salvador de Alba Jr. entering with a 5-point lead over Ruben Garcia Jr. So really for Garcia Jr., he had to finish at least a spot ahead of Salvador de Alba Jr., depending on where he finished. And Salvador either needed to finish ahead of Garcia Jr. or needed to stay close to him, depending on where they finished in the running order. So in the season finale at Puebla, both drivers ran top 5 for the entire race, but in the end, though, Salvador de Alba Jr. would finish 4th, but Ruben Garcia Jr., he would do everything he would need to win the title by finishing 2nd in the season finale, and in the end, that 2nd place finish will be more than enough for Ruben Garcia Jr. to win the championship over Salvador de Alba Jr. by 1 single point. So Ruben Garcia Jr. would be the champion under this format. And this would be Garcia Jr.'s 2nd title under this format. So now on to the Modified Series. So for the Modifieds, it would be a 3-man battle for the championship between Justin Bonsignor, Patrick Emmerling, and Doug Coby, as those 3 were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. In the end, though, Doug Coby would fail to be consistent in key moments of the season when it mattered the most, and he'd be eliminated with around a race to go in the year. So in the end, the championship would go all the way down to the season finale at Stafford Motor Speedway, with Justin Bonsignor entering with a 12-point lead over Patrick Emmerling. So Patrick would have to finish at least top 4, top 3 to have a shot at the title. And Bonsignor would just need to finish anywhere between 4th and 8th. Or better, depending on regardless of where Emmerling finished. So in the season finale at Stafford, both drivers ran top 5 for a majority of the race. For Patrick Emmerling, he would end up finishing the finale in 3rd. But Justin Bonsignor would do everything he would need to win the title by winning the season finale at Stafford. And that win, it would be more than enough for Justin Bonsignor to lock up the championship by 22 points over Patrick Emmerling. So Justin Bonsignor would still win the title under this format. And if you've been keeping track of the series, this would actually be Justin Bonsignor's 5th Modifieds championship under this format, and his 4th consecutive championship under this format. So for the Penny Series up in Canada, it was really one of those weird seasons where there wasn't a clear-cut dominant driver all year. Like, it was between multiple drivers for the championship, and this time, the Canadian government was more lenient toward the Penny Series and showed mercy by letting them race up to 10 races in a season, instead of that 6-race bullshit from 2020. So yeah, in this one, we had 6 drivers break out from the rest of the field, and those 6 being LP Dumoulin, Andrew Ranger, and yes, your eyes are not deceiving you for Andrew Ranger. That is indeed a Rick Ware Racing car you see on the screen with Andrew Ranger, as this was Rick Ware Racing's first season in the Penny Series. Just when you think you know all the series Rick Ware Racing competes in, they add another one to the list. And Andrew Ranger even did something that car that not many people can do in a Rick Ware car. Win in it. So anyway, you have Ranger. You also had DJ Kennington into the mix, along with Alex Tagliani, Kevin Lacroix, and rookie Trayden Lapcevich, as It was all about mainly who was more consistent, as those 6 were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. In the end, though, late in the season, Trey Lapsevich and Kevin McQuall would falter and fail to be consistent when it mattered the most, and they'd be eliminated with the round of race to go in a season. So in the end, the championship would go all the way down to the season finale at Delaware Speedway in Delaware, Ontario. A race I was in attendance for, by the way. I have a vlog for that if you want to go check that out. So the finale would enter with DJ Kennington entering with a 9-point lead over Andrew Ranger, a 14-point lead over LP Dumoulin, and a 19-point lead over Alex Tagliani. So we would have a 4-way fight for the championship under this format at Delaware. So for Ranger to win the championship, he had to at least finish a couple spots ahead of Kennington to win the title. Kennington just had to stay close to Ranger. For Dumoulin, he needed to finish at least top 3, and needed Ranger and Kennington to finish a bit further back in the field. And for Alex Tagliani, Alex would need to win the race and would need Kennington and company to finish deep in the field. So in the season finale at Delaware Speedway, Alex Tagliani, he would have a number of mechanical issues throughout the race, and he would end up finishing in 17th, 22 laps down. So that officially eliminated Tagliani from the championship. LP Dumoulin, he really didn't have race-winning speed throughout the race. And LP Dumoulin, he would end up finishing he ran around top 10 most of the race and ended up finishing 6th, and that officially eliminated him. For DJ Kennington would end up having a spin early in the race, so would suffer a flat tire. But Kennington, he would end up battling all the way back and would finish top 5 and 5th. So with Kennington finished 5th, it meant that in the closing laps, with Ranger running around top 5 and 2nd, it meant that in the final few laps, Ranger would have to find a way to win the race if he wanted to have a shot at the championship. Question is, could Andrew Ranger do it? Well, we're going to do something special with this, because I still have some of the footage from that Delaware vlog. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the final 4 laps of the Penny Series season finale at Delaware to see if Andrew Ranger could win the championship, because all Andrew has to do in this situation is just win the race and he would be your 2021 champion. So here are the final 4 laps in its entirety. So Andrew Ranger would win the season finale at Delaware Speedway in the closing laps. And under this format, Andrew Ranger, that win would be more enough for Ranger to win the championship by 6 points over DJ Kennington. So Andrew Ranger would be the champion under this format. And under this format, this would be Andrew Ranger's 3rd championship. And this would also be the first championship for Rick Ware Racing under this format in a NASCAR sanctioned series of any kind. So under this format, Rick Ware Racing would officially be a NASCAR sanctioned champion in their first season in the Penny Series. Hell has officially frozen over.
The end is not. 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 The end is not.
Okay, now, getting back on topic, now let's move on to the ARCA East series. So for the ARCA East series, the season was all about Sammy Smith. As Sammy Smith was the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. Like, nobody was on his level. Like, the only driver that was remotely close to his level was Ty Gibbs, who didn't even run all the races. Like, Ty Gibbs only ran 4 races the entire season. And they were both joint races with the ARCA series where Ty Gibbs won all 4 of those races. And Ty Gibbs would end up second in the championship just off of that alone. But it would still not be enough for Sammy Smith to win the title, and Sammy Smith would easily cruise to the championship over the rest of the field. And just because of Ty Gibbs, it would end up meaning that Sammy Smith would have his title celebration delayed till 1 race remaining in the season. So even despite that, Sammy Smith would still be your champion under this format in 2021. So now moving on to the ARCA West series. For the ARCA West series, there wasn't a clear-cut dominant driver all year. It was all about consistency. And in the end, we had it being between 8 drivers for the championship, and those 8 being Jesse Love, Jake Drew, Paul Pedroncelli Jr., Cole Moore, Joey Ice, Todd Sousa, Trevor Huddleston, and Taylor Gray. As those 8 were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. And also Ty Gibbs, he would sneak in and finish inside the top 10 in points, but not everybody can compete for the championship, even in ARCA, Ty. But in the end, no, Cole Moore, Trevor Huddleston, and Todd Sousa would all fail, and Taylor Gray would all fail to be consistent in key moments here when it mattered the most, and they would be eliminated with around a race or 2 to go in the season, respectively. So in the end, we would end up going all the way down to the season finale at Phoenix with 4 drivers still eligible for the championship. And for this, we would have Joey Ice enter with a 3-point lead over Jesse Love, a 7-point lead over Paul Pedroncelli Jr., and a 20-point lead over Jake Drew. So for Love and Pedroncelli, they just need to finish ahead of each other and ahead of Ice, depending on where each finished, or where they finish in the running order. Ice just need to stay close or finish ahead of both of them, depending on where they finished. And Jake Drew, he would need to win the race, and we need everybody else to finish deep in the field to have a shot at the championship. In the end, though, none of that would have even mattered because neither of those 4 ended up finishing inside the top 10 in the season finale. I believe the highest finishing driver in that finale was Jake Drew out of those 4 in 11th. Like, everybody else struggled in that race in a very anticlimactic season finale. Hey, sometimes you'll have some Game 7 moments where it's very anticlimactic. So because neither of those 4 finished inside the top 10 and didn't score points in the finale, it means that Joey Ice would end up winning the championship by default under this format. So Joey Ice would be the 2021 ARCA West champion under this format. So now moving on to the ARCA series. The ARCA series that was all about Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs was just the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. Like, he straight up dominated the season. Like, nobody was even close to his level. Like, the only driver that was remotely close to his level was Corey Heim. And under every other season, Heim's season would probably be good enough to win the championship any other year. Just in the end, someone was just better than Corey Heim. And in the end, ended up being Gibbs boy. And Ty Gibbs, he would end up going on and easily cruising to the championship, locking it up at Bristol with 2 races to go in the season. So Ty Gibbs would still be the 2021 ARCA champion under this format. And under this format, if you've been keeping track, this would be Ty Gibbs' 2nd championship, and Ty Gibbs would go back-to-back under this format in 2021. Now on to the Truck Series. For the Truck Series, the season was all about John Hunter Nemechek. It's John Hunter Nemechek was just the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. Like, nobody was on Nemechek's level in 2021. And under this format, John Hunter Nemechek would easily cruise to the championship under this format, locking up the title at Talladega, of all places, with 2 races to go in the season. So John Hunter Nemechek would be the 2021 Truck Series champion under this format. So now moving on to the Xfinity Series. For the Xfinity Series, we would mainly have a 2-man battle for the championship for much of the season between Austin Cindric and AJ Allmendinger, as those two were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. But in the end, though, AJ Allmendinger, he would end up suffering a late season collapse and would fail to be consistent in key moments of the season when it mattered the most. And Austin Cindric would take full advantage of it with pole way late in the season. And Austin Cindric, he would end up easily cruising to the championship, locking up the title up at Martinsville with a race remaining in the season. So Austin Cindric would be your 2021 Xfinity Series champion under this format. And under this format, Cindric would end up going back-to-back under this format. And finally, last but certainly not least, I saved the best one for last. We now go to the Cup Series. And the Cup Series, well, long story short, the Cup Series this season was all about Kyle Larson. And for Larson, I couldn't decide which photo I wanted to use of Larson, so I said, fuck it, let's use both. But yeah, Larson, he would end up having a monster season. It seems like cancel culture trying to cancel Larson after Larson got suspended for saying the gamer word last year. It woke up a monster inside Larson, and Larson would unleash hell on earth on the entire Cup Series field, absolutely bit-slapping the entire field throughout much of the entire season. Like, nobody was even remotely close to Larson's level in 2021. And Kyle Larson, he would end up having a monster of a season, even breaking Jeff Gordon's 2001 laps led record in a 36-race season by leading over 2,581 laps. Jesus Christ, what a year. And Kyle Larson, he would end up completing the greatest comeback season in NASCAR history and would end up easily cruising to the championship under this format, locking up the title at Texas, or Texas as I would call it, with 3 races remaining in the season. So yeah, Kyle Larson would still be the 2021 Cup Series champion under this format, obviously.
Kyle Larson is one of the most talented drivers we have ever seen. This move to Hendrick Motorsports will certainly shake up the NASCAR world for years to come. Larson has just set himself up for possibly the greatest career resurgence ever. He has cup titles with his name practically wrote on them already at this point. I'm not telling you to forgive Kyle Larson. I'm telling you that we're going to be seeing him win races and championships for a very long time.
But yeah, anyway, that's going to wrap it up here for this part of the NASCAR What If series for the 2021 season. So yeah, quite a few things would have changed for sure under this format. But a lot of things would stay the same. Kyle Larson's 2021 championship, obviously. But yeah, under this points format, we would have we would have the Euro Series, the Mexico Series, the Penny Series, Modified Series, and the ARCA West Series. Those 5 would have the championship go down to the season finale. And the Mexico Series, the Penny Series, the ARCA West Series, the Trucks, and Xfinity Series, we would see different champions crowned under this format. So yeah, quite a few things would have changed for sure under this format. A few things would stay the same. So yeah, anyway, that'll wrap it up here. So yeah, it was still fun doing this series for the longest time. You know, I enjoyed it for sure. I am going to do this again in 2022 to do some other series. And maybe try and look for some of those lost seasons I didn't do for like Modified, some ARCA West, and Euro and Mexico and whatnot. And I've even been looking at the late model Sportsman division, which was the predecessor to the Xfinity series. I'm going to be starting up these videos again in 2022 in February, around after the Super Bowl 56 ends and the NFL season comes to an end. So for now, this series will take a bit of a back seat to the NFL for now. But this series is going to come back. When NASCAR season starts up, this series will come back. So yeah. So yeah, when it does come back, all I say is, don't call it a comeback. But yeah, hopefully everyone enjoyed this for sure. So yeah, I will be back in it for 2022 to begin the next phase of the series. And I will be doing this video again at some point for the 2022 season for all the NASCAR sanctioned series. I think I'm going to make this kind of like a yearly occurrence where I'll do this like every December or whatnot. You know, kind of like how I do the season prediction videos every year. You know, I am going to be doing the season predictions again, of course, for 2022, so you have that to look forward to sometime in January. But yeah, I am going to be doing this for the 2022 season for all the NASCAR sanctioned series. I'll probably have it uploaded around this exact time next year in December 2022. So you got that to look forward to. You know, I'm probably going to treat this a yearly occurrence. Just like how Topper Govman treats makes his NASCAR season song recap videos a yearly occurrence. But yeah, anyway, that'll wrap it up here. That's all I gotta say. And the next part of the What If series, they all depend on how fast I do my research and make them. But for sure, it will come out in February 2022. But yeah, anyway, that's gonna wrap it up here. And that's all I gotta say. Hope everyone's a great day, and I'll see you on whatever I make next. And before I sign off, I do want to wish everyone a merry off-season and a happy Christmas, with the holidays just around the corner. So hopefully everyone has a safe and happy holidays. See you later. Peace.